Setting up a successful blending program is not only purchasing a great piece of equipment like the Quiet One, but there's a lot of other variables that you really want to nail down to make sure that you've got a repeatable program. So with the Quiet One, we have 34 factory programs, and that's going to do the exact same thing every time for you. And you can pull any of those 34 programs to the front 6 buttons. This unit's also custom programmable, so you can go even beyond that to dial in speed of service, texture, thickness, the pourability of that beverage, the sound of the unit. All those things are variables that you can set. And once those are set, that machine will do that same thing every time. What then becomes important is everything that happens up to the point of putting that container on that motor base and pushing that button to start that blend. Part of that is looking at measurement devices. A lot of times it's very helpful to have different size measurement devices, but also to color code those. So you can see over here we have different scoop sizes. Typically this would be more for hard pack ice cream, sorbets, but as you build a recipe, you can call out for this strawberry smoothie, use 1 purple scoop of X ingredient for the small. That same recipe in the medium size, you may move up to the yellow and beyond. And that gives yourself an easy, teachable moment for those new employees, and also easy for them to follow. Not all ingredients are going to be measured by the same measurement device as effectively, so you may have more than one type of measurement device in your system. Some things to remember with those, as you look at these measurement scoops here out front, we've got one that's a bluish tone and one that's stainless. They are the exact same measurement as far as max fill, and if I was measuring liquid in these would be the same every time because you can only put so much liquid on before it goes over the top. So very consistent that way. But if I were to use those to measure frozen fruit or ice, the wider container gives you the availability to heap ice at a higher rate than the scoop size that's a little more narrow. And that also we can see again with these scoops. These are more custom, but they are color coded, and you can do small, medium, and large with that. We'll talk about ice in another video. Fruit cut size is also important. The size of that ice is important. So if you're using a very small type of ice, like a nugget or pearl, those are small little spheres. They're going to stack very tightly in there, and you're going to get a very accurate measurement. If I were to use much larger erratic pieces of ice, they're going to have big pieces of ice in there, but there's large gaps of air. So they're a little bit harder to measure from an accuracy standpoint, and potentially easier to build up, especially if you get bridging with that ice. Those are going to be a little bit more optimal. These are plastic. We have a glass representation of a measurement device here. This will get all the way down to the 1 cup marking, which is what this size is. But because it's such, again, wide, large container, it's going to be much harder for an employee to use one measurement device to do all those different sizes versus speed of service being planned into color coding, size, ranking these measurement devices as they go. The other thing is you probably want to avoid glass just because of the ability of it to be broken. As people are working fast, there's a lot of metal around these refrigerators and freezers and build stations. To break a glass container could be extremely detrimental to speed of service. You potentially have to throw out a lot of ingredients to try to avoid serving glass shards to a customer, which would be a terrible thing. The other thing to consider as you're building is holding temperatures and the equipment that happens to be there. So there's different types of freezers and refrigerators. The better type for this recipe build station is going to be the ones that are referred to as dipping cabinets or kind of open top freezers or refrigerators. If you have doors that open out, those are still going to work, but those aren't going to be as effective as holding temperatures because cold air is going to fall out every time you open that door. And as you get into busier times during that day, those doors are going to be open almost all the time or open very frequently. Your ingredients are going to continue to warm up. In a smoothie world, that's going to equate to having thinner smoothies or beverages that don't have, kind of that robust flavor that is going to be related to how thick those ingredients are. Hold times as well are going to be affected. So after you serve that smoothie or that frozen coffee, it's going to become thinner quicker. So all things to consider. If you're using our aerating container to creating cold foams, that is very much related to temperature. So those cold foams are going to become thinner and nothing's changed on the blender or the measurement per se, but that temperature has affected that. So Those are all things to consider. The other thing that you want to do is to set up an efficient build on that station. So at the end, you're gonna come to where the blender's at, but you want to load that container optimally. So as you go to the beginning of that build line, you want everything to be lined up, that you're grabbing that next ingredient and moving towards that finished blend. So liquids are gonna want to be what you want to put in first. So you want to start that at the refrigerator or the bubbling station to get those liquids in there first. As you move down, you're probably gonna want to move towards things like powders. You don't want to put those in last. As the blender starts up, even at lower speeds, you may get them to plume, and those are going to coat the inside of the lid or the upper sections of the container. After the blend, as you pour those out, you may pull some of that powder and get like a little bit of a chalky texture to your beverage. It also is going to make cleaning a little bit more difficult if you have a wet internal lid with a bunch of dry powder stuck to it. So those are important to have in earlier, not before the liquid, but after that. And then you can work down that station for leafy greens, frozen fruits and vegetables, ice. And that's gonna help load everything down and weigh things down. So the liquids and those easier ingredients are gonna pull in initially and then process everything out. After you pour that beverage out, you're gonna want to have that container be rinsed at least quickly. So purchasing a rinse-o-matic from Vitamix is gonna make that a very efficient process for you. It not only rinses containers and the lids, but you can also use those to rinse out measurement devices. So you're getting everything rinsed quickly to get things back to that beginning of the build station. And then not a bad idea to maybe purchase a double set so you can have things rinsed and sanitized in the back, ready to switch into that system when you have that time flip. So we hope this has been beneficial to you. The most important thing is getting out a very consistent beverage at a high quality again and again. The Quiet One is going to do its part to do that. Planning out that build station ahead of time will provide the rest.